We are here at Audioholics Live 2024 at Coastal Source. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Hey folks, I'm Gene Dellasello with Audioholics. We're here with Peter Sepsi again. How you doing, Peter?
Very good. Good to see you again, Gene.
It's always good to see you. Man, I am such a fan of this company, especially because you're Florida-based, but also because you make speakers that can endure Florida weather. That's not easy to do.
It's not. It's not. We've gotten really good at it. We enjoy it. We enjoy listening to music outside, of course, so we've got to make this stuff survive.
So last time we did a video for you guys was at Florida Audio Expo. You've come up with new products here. I see these speakers on the wall here, and also I see a subwoofer that looks really interesting. Can you give us a rundown of what's new here at Audioholics Live?
Absolutely, yeah, Gene. Let me start with actually the new sub. I think that'd be a good spot because we actually announced it today at Audioholics Live. So we've named this product the Cube. It's a 17-inch Cube. It's got a 10-inch down-firing driver, supported sub, and really what it's meant to do is complement some of our hardscape speakers that we'll get into in a little bit, but it's got some unique features. One is a removable stone top, so we're going to offer two different style tops to it, but then you can also supply your own top. So maybe you're putting this on your deck, Gene, and maybe you've got gray Trex and you want this to blend in with your space. So we have a template you can give your contractor and they can cut in and inlay that in the top of the sub so it really will disappear in your environment. The sub itself, it's got our same rotomold enclosure that we're known for in our bollards that will survive UV, heat, extreme temperatures, cold temperature as well. But we've put a lot of design into this new driver that we developed for the sub itself. So it is a 10-inch driver with a fiberglass cone, Santoprene surround, so again, UV and water resistant. But we wanted this thing to really take a lot of power. Our clients, our customers really love the push performance outdoors. So inside and out wound voice coil, 2-inch size voice coil. It's got, again, the ability to just handle a lot of power, produce a lot of heat, aluminum cone basket. It's something that our customers really demand, so we really wanted to make sure this sub could hold up.
Well, a couple of things I noticed. Number one, I like the fact that you have that stone plate on top. That serves two purposes, aesthetically, but also it mass loads the sub, because when you have a down-firing driver and you have a lot of excursion, some subwoofers can jump.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure that helps to keep it down, keep it planted. I like the idea of down-firing subs for a couple of reasons. It acts as a low-pass filter, so you don't hear any port chuffing. You also get coupling to the ground, so you get reinforcement in the bass frequencies. And you also, is it ported on the bottom as well?
It is. So it does have a port on the bottom. We've obviously flared it to eliminate some of that turbulence. And that port has a great system in there to prevent any type of bug or insect from coming up into the sub.
Which is a big problem in Florida.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so the subwoofer itself is passive. Do you have options for a rack mount amp, or is it the outdoor amp? How does that work?
No, so it's a great question. So we can do either or. So all of our amps, whether they're our indoor rack mount models or our outdoor models, are all going to be multi-channel, full DSP with limiting, and we basically tune that before it even leaves the factory. So what we've got is whether your installation might have 1, 2, 8 subs, we're going to set that all up into the DSP on the front end, so when you get your Coastal system delivered, you literally plug the wires in and start enjoying music. So again, this will be compatible with either the indoor or the outdoor amps.
So now more about this amplifier and about the DSP capabilities. You have the ability to adjust delays independently for each of the subs and PEQ filters if you want to lighten up the bass.
If you'd like, again, we set it up from the factory, but you can absolutely go in there and tune. You can add multiple layers of EQ. You can delay, you can invert phase. So yeah, you have really full control. The only thing that we like to limit access to is our limiters. So obviously the goal is to protect the product, and our customers love to push the limits on our product. So that's the only thing that we locked in from a security standpoint, just to make sure. So RMS, peak, and clip limiting is all preset at the factory.
I thought I saw there was a phase switch on the bottom. Is that true?
Yeah, so it's something unique that we've done here for the sub, which we like. We call it a cap switch. So what it allows you to do is on the bottom of the sub, there's there's a weatherized connector that you'll unspin, and you can invert the phase from 0 to 180. Now, Gene, you can go into any of the amps, into the DSP and of course do it there digitally, but where I like that, I'll call it that analog or that in-field, maybe I've got 2 or 3 subs paralleled on the same output channel, and I only want to invert the phase on one of them.
Right.
So that'll give me that local ability.
It's always good to have multiple points where you could do adjustments and then do it on the fly, because if you're outside listening to the system, it's easier sometimes to just go and flip a switch than to go indoors or get on your computer to make those changes in the DSP.
Agree completely, yes.
Yeah. So give me some information about how this all connects. Do you guys have proprietary connectors? Obviously, you have to have cables that can go in the ground and be sustainable and not have any problems with weathering.
Right, so a cable is a core backbone of Coastal Source. So when we started with lighting and audio, we said, even if we built the best product available, at some point the connection's going to fail. It's just the nature, and especially in the environment that we're sourced in Florida, it's very corrosive, very aggressive, again, salt air, humidity. So anytime you've got any type of spliced connection on the outside, you run that risk. So what we've developed is a number of different cables. This is a new cable that we've developed really around Cube and some of our new products. As you can see here, this has got multiple pins here. Okay, so this is a completely molded IP68 cable system. It comes in a variety of different lengths, from as short as 5 foot all the way up to 100-foot lengths. So you can basically piece together what you need. So you can ensure as you make this connection, and you notice it's keyed, and it's important obviously in our world for phasing to make sure that as you hook your system up, whether it's subs or lefts and rights, you're maintaining that phase. Once you spin this connector down, you've created this watertight, airtight connection system. And what's particularly unique about this multi-conductor cable is you'll be able to run, let's say in an example, I've got one of our outdoor amplifiers. You'll be able to connect this one cable from the outdoor amp, daisy chain all of your speakers, daisy chain the sub in, and this will carry both the left, right, possibly an internal sub and an external sub all on this one cable. So it carries 4 channels.
That makes it so much easier to retrofit when you don't, when you didn't already have all the wires laid out before the house has been completed in construction.
Absolutely, and I love this, and it takes out the potential for error in wiring a left output to a sub output, or a sub to a satellite, and so on. So this really simplifies the process. Our newer bollards will have both inputs and outputs on these, and on the bottom of the Cube sub, you've got an input where you can insert.
It's basically a self-contained ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Between the amps and the speakers and the subs.
Correct.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about, because we did a demo of these speakers that are on the wall here. The top piece is a separate module, coaxial driver, then you got some bass modules. Before you get into the specs on that, I just want to give you my listening impression. So we listened to, I love the fact that you remembered I like Dominique Fiamme.
Yes.
And you put on one of her new tracks. And what I heard in this system, now this is an outdoor system, this is not an indoor system, but what I heard was very precise clarity in her vocals. There wasn't any coloration in the mid-range. It just sounded very natural. I thought the bass was tight. It wasn't maybe as deep as it would be if I had like a dedicated subwoofer, but it was certainly filling enough where I was sitting in the second row here. I thought it was just a very good sound. It sounded like I was listening to a 2-channel system, an indoor 2-channel system, but it was for outdoor purposes. Then we listened to another track from Murray and Hill, Differently. That's one I always talk to you guys about as a reference material because it's got a lot of deep bass. It could slam really hard. The system just maintained composure. It didn't sound strained at all. It just sounded very natural. So why don't you tell me, why did you separate the top part from the bottom part? What are the models? Give us a rundown of it.
Absolutely, yeah, happy to, Gene. So this family of product we call Razor. So it's all based around an extruded aluminum enclosure. We have 3 different size cabinets. They all share the same width at 10.5 inches wide, but will vary from our smallest at 10.5 by 10.5 long, up to 36-inch long, and then we also have a 24-inch long model. So if you look at that as sort of the shell for this product, this extruded aluminum shell, we have different driver complements in some of the different models. So for example, this is just a standalone satellite featuring our 5.25-inch driver, coaxial driver, 1-inch tweeter with a waveguide. It's a single input. Then we have a single input dedicated sub only. But we also we've got sitting out over here, this is our model, what we call 310, which is bi-amped, which incorporates that same center 5.25-inch coaxial and 4 sub drivers. We also have a stereo soundbar, and we have a true LCR soundbar. One of the things I really love about Razor is that when you get in an environment when you've got multiple Razors, they're really all voiced the same because we're using that same driver. Now, obviously with different size cabinets, we're doing different DSP tuning. But if you've got an environment where maybe I want something really high performance out in the outdoor summer kitchen, so maybe this is my setup I'm gonna use here. But as I navigate to an area that might not be as critical and I don't need this much maybe low frequency reinforcement, I'm gonna go with maybe our smaller single input 24-inch model, put it up in the soffit. It still disappears just by the nature of its angled, beveled edges where I can kind of hide in a corner. But again, I can get various levels of that kind of LF reinforcement, but I have a kind of a timber matched experience as I move through the different zones. Comes in black or white. Again, the grills are aluminum. And what's unique is, and we played it at a fair volume here in the room, but we can really take this to some concert type levels, again, as our customers love. So what we've done is, you notice these aluminum cones here, we're actually using the cabinet as a heat sink. So what we're doing is on the back side where the basket meets the magnet has a heat dissipating pad on the back, and we actually compress it to the back of the cabinet. So it gives me that thermal transfer, while at the same time, it's basically making this completely rigid because I'm coupling the driver from the front and the back. So because again, we've got limited airspace with 3.5 inch of total depth. Again, when you can design things from scratch like we do, we design the drivers from scratch, the crossovers, the cabinets, that's how we can kind of get that level of performance out of such a small cabinet.
And I can only imagine if this was in an outdoor setting where the speakers are up against the wall to get boundary reinforcement, you get even more bass extension out of this.
Absolutely, Gene, and so true in that we also understand and can appreciate that whether you're freestanding or up in the soffit, you're half space, quarter space, whatever it might be, we've kind of taken that into effect and we've built presets for all of those configurations. Again, you can always tune in the field, but we like to try to get, as soon as you get your product, get you listening to music as quick as possible, right?
Plug and play as best as you can.
But what we have is when our dealers will place an order, they'll indicate whether it's wall mount or corner mount or soffit mount, and we'll load that appropriate DSP into the amp for them.
And then the name of the speaker will correspond. You select it in the DSP, so
that is correct.
It optimizes for that. That's
Absolutely.
that's really slick.
Yeah.
So in a system that you want to set up, let's say a 2.1 system in a yard to get a lot of sound, would you recommend the satellite speakers with these, or would you recommend the satellite speakers with the sub?
I'd say if I'm going in a yard, if I've got the opportunity to place a sub in a landscape bed, I love the concept of adding the cube into it. You're going to have that larger driver, that larger form factor. And then maybe I go with something smaller footprint. So I've got a small visual footprint on the wall. Again, if I don't have the ability to bury a sub or integrate cube, I love the flexibility of Razor where I can mix and match. Whereas maybe I can just put the satellites here on the wall and then I can hide the subs up in the soffit.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So if I don't like the idea of two different cabinets, I can go with a combined unit. Our most popular is our 24-inch bi-amp unit, which has the single 5.25-inch coax and 2 active bass drivers.
So what's the warranty like on all these different products as well?
So just about everything we make, Gene, is 5 years. Our lighting that we do is lifetime on the fixtures, but all of our electronics, our speakers, our cabling, you name it, is 5 years. So that's the easiest way to remember it.
Okay, and the last question about the DSP controlled amp, is that all controlled through your PC, or do you actually have an app on your phone that you could do it as well?
It is, currently it's through your PC. So we have our rack mount amplifiers can be accessed via some free software you can download. It's currently on PC only, but you can also access the amp via, it's got an internal web GUI. So if you do add it to your home network, you can do all of the DSP that we talked about. Our outdoor amps share really the identical DSP. The only caveat is they do not have that web GUI feature. So you'll just have to plug your PC directly into the outdoor amp. We offer a weatherized RJ45 connector. So what a lot of folks do is just install a Cat5 back to the rack, and it's permanently wired to their network.
Okay, cool. One thing I wanted to touch on again, you talked about the waveguide on this driver. What about this little perforation mask over it?
Yeah, the Fractal waveguide really helps us simplify the crossover quite a bit. And that's something I'm a big fan of, is sometimes some of the systems that I hear when you get into 3- and 4-way systems, I notice a lot of coloration with that.
Sure.
So it really gives us the ability to simplify that and help to really allow that tweeter to get us a nice wide coverage.
Well, again, what I heard was a very cohesive soundstage coming out of the speaker. Not typical for what you would get with most outdoor speakers. So you guys take audio outside very seriously. And look, this is a growing market, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's more and more people that want serious sound output outdoors. They're doing a lot of outdoor activities. I could imagine seeing a full 5.1 theater outside. I think that would be really slick with a system like this.
Absolutely, yeah. We absolutely have seen some of it, and even in the room here, we got to enjoy a stereo demo together, but we've configured a 5.1 to show. And again, we've got some standalone sound bars that we've seen some customers, absolutely love. I mean, I think it's the best sounding sound bar, period, that you can get outdoors. But yeah, we do, theater is, I think, something that's growing, certainly, in some environments.
Well, Peter, I appreciate you dropping the knowledge on all these great new products from Coastal Source. Guys, if you like this video, please hit the thumb up, hit subscribe. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Audioholics. We appreciate your support. You get direct access to me if you want to suggest video topics. I'll put some links to Coastal Source below so you can check out their products with more detail. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.